So if you've started reading this series, but now that I have that about these intruders is as good as a on a investigative this book down below in the subscription box. Are you away in the head, lad? Hey guys, welcome to BookBabeBeauty. If you're new here, my name is Erica and I love books and makeup. I like to talk about the greatest books that I just read while I do my makeup. So I'm doing something a little bit different today. Normally in my review videos, I review standalone novels, and today's book is part of a trilogy. I've read many books that are a part of a series, and I've read many books that aren't standalone novels. I just haven't done one yet in a review video because I love my instantaneous happily ever after romance novels. But this series is so good so far that I had to make a video review for it. As I read the continuation of the series, I will do a new video for each book. So today, since this is the first book in the series, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the characters and their backstories, as well as what is happening in the story as it takes place right now in this first book. So if you've started reading this series or you haven't started yet but want to, I will list the videos as I do them in chronological order, and I will make sure to title them appropriately for you guys so that you don't watch the video on the second book before you've read the first one. Also, I must forewarn you that this series of novels has quite a few dark elements throughout the story, and some of the topics discussed in the book or throughout the novel include things like abuse, non-consent, violence, and murder. Additionally, organized crime as a way of life is a heavy theme throughout this book and the series as well. If any of these themes or topics are offensive or triggering to you in any way, then you may want to skip this one. But now that I have that out of the way, we can get into what this book is today that I am reviewing. The book that I'm reviewing in this video today is called Thy Kingdom Come, and it is part of a trilogy called Deliver Us from Evil. And the author of these books is named Monica James. She is a new-to-me author, but she seems to be a fairly popular author amongst the book lovers of Instagram. I discovered her from the hype surrounding the release on the second book, so that had me intrigued and I really wanted to read it, so I'm glad I did because man, oh man, it was a wild ride. Whew. The male lead character, he is hot. So now that I've introduced the story and the author that wrote this story, I am ready to put my makeup on, so let's get started. This story opens up with a 5-year-old named Puck Kelly. Punky is what he goes by though. And at this time, Punky's mother, Kara, is in the midst of panic because she hears the sounds of intruders making their way into her home, letting her know that she's about to lose her life. The only thing that Kara is worried about at the moment, though, is the safety of her young boy Punky. She knows that these intruders are going to kill her, but she will do everything in her power to protect her son from the same fate. The only thing apparent about these intruders is the fact that Kara knows who they are, even before seeing them, and she also knows why they're there. But before the intruders make it to the bedroom that Kara and Punky are hiding in, Kara is busy trying to convince a 5-year-old Punky to hide in the wardrobe. And poor Kara, being yet again reminded of Punky's innocence in this situation, she becomes even more desperate in her attempts to try and hide him, and is finally able to convince him when she gives him his favorite face paints. Kara gives Punky strict instructions to stay in the wardrobe, no matter what happens. And she insists to him that anything that he may see or hear while in that wardrobe is not real. She also tells Punky to use the face paints in order to create a mask and pretend that he's somebody else in that wardrobe. Kara knows that this is as good of a distraction that she's going to be able to give to her son, as her fate with death is sealed. Even though Punky does create a mask for himself while in that wardrobe, it's not enough of a distraction for Punky, as he witnesses the most brutal, humiliating, and torturous murder of his mother that would cause the mask that Punky is painting on his face to symbolize the atrocities that he is witnessing being done to her. The mask that he ended up creating resembled that of a dark and menacing skull, each line representing the brutalities brought forth to his mother and the 3 men who caused them. Even at 5 years old, after seeing what he did, he vowed to find the masked men who took the life of his mother and kill them in return. And because they were masked, the only clue that he had of who those men were was a very distinct tattoo on one of their wrists. He would never be able to forget that tattoo because he would end up getting one of his own, and it would be a constant reminder of the men that he still needed to find. Now that I've discussed the opening of the book, I'm going to go ahead and put my eyebrows on. I will be right back. I'm back, and my eyebrows are done. Let's get back to the story. After the flashback, when Punky was a 5-year-old boy, we are then transported into the present day, where a now adult Punky is on an investigative mission for his dad. See, Punky's dad is the leader of an organized crime family that's located in Belfast. And Punky's mission is to find suspected evidence to prove that one of the men in their crime family is being disloyal. The biggest rivalry in Punky's world of organized crime is the opposing crime family that is located in Dublin. Punky has been raised to hate the Doyles of Dublin for no real explanation other than the fact that the Doyles' Catholic religion is in opposition to the Protestant raising that Punky grew up in. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but the two families hate each other, so that's justification enough for Punky. So the mission that Punky is on and the suspected disloyalty of one of the members of their crime family has to do with the fact that they suspect that this member of their crime family has been in cahoots with the Doyles. So when Punky finds the evidence that he needs, he makes his way back on foot to the castle, because they literally live in a castle that his family lives in. Even though Punky is now an adult, he has never forgotten what happened to his mother and what he himself witnessed during that traumatic event. And it drives his anger, subsequently allowing him to do his job within the crime family very well. But Punky's past trauma also really inhibits his ability to connect with people. Punky has convinced himself that witnessing the brutal murder of his mother has really numbed his ability to ever love anyone else. Even the thought of intimacy with a woman is very unappealing to him. On Punky's long walk home back to his family castle, he runs into a girl on the side of the street. She's in the middle of nowhere, and it appears as though she has a flat tire on her bike. Punky has no intention of helping this girl, but somehow she's able to charm him into agreement. Something about this girl really perplexes Punky, because not only is it strange that she's out there on her own at such a late hour, she has an accent like she's definitely not from around Belfast, and she's wearing a costume. Even though she reveals to Punky that her name is Poppy, because of her costume, he decides to call her Baby Doll. Although Punky feels very drawn to Poppy, or Baby Doll, and it's the first time that he's ever felt this way around a woman or had this reaction towards a woman, he has no desire to act on it. In fact, Punky knows it's best to keep this girl at arm's length, away from the mess that is his life, so he makes an extra effort to be an asshole to her. Even though Punky does help her with her bike, Baby Doll feels offended by his off-putting behavior, and so she rides away and he assumes he'll likely never see her again. But when Punky realizes that Baby Doll took something that belonged to him during their interaction, he knows that he has no choice but to find her and take back what she stole. But Punky doesn't have to look for her very long, because he ends up finding Baby Doll in the unlikeliest of situations. And when he meets up with her again, he finds that his intrigue for her grows even more intensely, because she seems to be hiding something from him, and it makes him want to find out what it is. He knows he can't trust Baby Doll, obviously because she was a thief to his belongings the first night that they met, but something about her makes him want to throw caution to the wind. The problem in their connection is that no matter how strong their attraction is to one another, and no matter how intense the intimate moments they share with each other are, it is all outweighed by their unwillingness to share much about their lives to each other, or their reasons for being the way that they are. Baby Doll is turned off by his inability for emotional affections. Yet she also understands that it's unfair of her to ask that of him when she knows how many secrets she's keeping from him. And Punky is also angered by Baby Doll's secrecy and lies. Yet he knows that he hasn't exactly been forthcoming with her either. I'm at a point where I'm gonna go put on the rest of my makeup, and then when I come back, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this story and what my final thoughts and opinions are on this story. So I will be right back. I am back and my makeup is done. I wanted to explain my look that I did today, and if you read this book, you will understand the symbolism and the meaning behind the colors I chose for today's look. The red and the dark eyes represent not only the mask that Punky painted on himself, but also the charcoal drawings that Punky created in the story. I love to do a makeup look that either complements the book's cover, or I love to do a makeup look that complements a meaningful detail in the story. And so that's why I chose today's look. Now that I have my makeup on, I am ready to talk about the rest of the story, a little bit about the author, and what my final opinions are. So let's get into it. So Punky is already suspicious of Baby Doll, but it isn't until other people start to mention some of the oddities that they notice surrounding Baby Doll and her knowledge of certain situations before they take place, that Punky starts to grow even more suspicious of her, and he starts to worry about the danger that she might pose to him. He tries to get her to open up to him by telling her some of his truths, but he finds out pretty quickly that she is a closed book. She's unwilling to share any information about who she really is, why she's in Belfast, and how she knows inside information into some of the criminal situations within his family. She swears, though, to Punky that her secrecy is not by choice, but rather by force, yet she can't share why that is with Punky either. Even though it aggravates Punky, he realizes that he's in way too deep with Baby Doll. He starts to recognize that his feelings for Baby Doll go much deeper than the physical attraction and the sexual connection. He also starts to realize that his feelings for Baby Doll are possibly the realest feelings that he's had for a woman since the death of his mother. And his MO quickly becomes to protect Baby Doll at all costs, even if it's from himself. And as he's learning the truth behind his mother's brutal murder, he realizes that just may be what he has to do. This story is definitely different than any of the other stories that I've ever done a video review for so far, because of some of the themes and topics in this story. I would consider it somewhat of a dark romance, and I've always liked a dark romance novel every now and then. But oftentimes they can be very intense in their regard to crossing these figurative lines of things that we don't often romanticize in everyday life. But this story, however, if it's considered a dark romance novel, which I would, it is more on the mild side. But I also think that in regard to a dark romance novel, it is completely subjective to the individual who's reading it and what topics they may deem more taboo than others. While some dark romance novels tread the line of the consensual, non-consensual intimacy, this novel didn't romanticize that topic at all. The dark parts of this story had more to do with the criminal aspects of Punky's life, but the dark parts of this romance novel never occurred by Punky to Baby Doll. Because this novel is part of an ongoing series, it's not like any of the other novels that I've done video reviews for that have been part of a series but are standalone novels, and those novels were based on the secondary characters. The continuation of the next couple of novels in this series are still based on Punky and Baby Doll. And this story does leave on a cliffhanger. I know the author did give warning in regard to the cliffhanger, so it was expected. I wasn't caught off guard, but in case you decide to read it, just be aware that if you want the full story, you will have to read the continuation of it in the following 2 books. The second book in this series, which is called Into Temptation, is already out, and the third book will be out soon. As this book did take place in Ireland, and almost all of the characters in the story are Irish, there was a lot of lingo and phrases that I had to get used to, and in the beginning it was a little bit hard to understand because the narration is spoken or written like somebody who is from Ireland. But honestly, as I kept reading, I felt like my brain had an Irish accent, and I really didn't have any problem understanding it after that. And because I feel like I had an Irish accent in my brain when I was reading the book, I feel like maybe I should test that theory out loud. I'm gonna read a quote or 2 from the book. They won't give anything away, but I just want to see how stupid I sound. You'd say anything to save your arse. You've got some bollocks on you, lad. I just sound like a leprechaun. But I swear it sounds better in my head. Monica James is the author of this trilogy, and she lives with her family in Melbourne, Australia. And I'm going to be dead honest. I did not do any research on this author before I read the book. So as I was reading the book, I thought the author was from Ireland because it sounded like I would expect, and I don't know because I'm not Irish, but it sounded like I would expect an Irish person to be talking. It sounded so convincing. I couldn't conclude where the author originated from, so if she has no connections to Ireland, then oh my god, she is a genius. I couldn't get an exact count of how many books that she has published, but I do know that she has at least published over 20 novels so far. And I know that this may come as a shock again because generally speaking, I have done reviews for books that have been available on Kindle Unlimited. And to some people this may not matter because maybe you don't have Kindle Unlimited, so you would buy the book anyway. But this book and this series is not available on Kindle Unlimited. I did pay $3.99 for this book, but honestly, I think that $3.99 is a steal because unlike with Kindle Unlimited books, I get to keep this one and I can read the Irish magic that is Puck Kelly again and again. And quite honestly, I have kind of a thing for hot boys with accents. And something about the unrefined Irish accent of Puck Kelly just made him seem more exotic and rugged and swoony. Once again, this is another slam dunk read, and once again, I would not go on camera and recommend a book that I didn't truly love. I have absolutely no obligation to recommend any of the books that I do in my videos. I genuinely want to recommend the books that I do in my videos because I think that they should be read by as many people as possible. And I am very excited to read the next two books in this trilogy. So expect more of Puck Kelly hotness reviews coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your time and your support, and I hope you like this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I really hope that you pick this book up and read it, and join me in my next videos when I review the next two books in this series. If you want to see more videos of me doing my makeup and some book inspired looks, if you want some awesome recommendations for some great books to read, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions for books that you want me to read, please leave me a comment down below. I am always looking to add new books to my TBR list. I'll also leave a link down below where you can find this book, and I will list all of the makeup products that I used down below in the description box in case you're interested. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. You guys stay safe out there, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.